There's a very apparent divide in Western countries. Just pick any country. Go to Sweden. You have some Swedes who like the fact that they're Swedish. They think Swedish history is pretty good, at least. You know, there's some glory to Swedish history, some celebration-worthy elements to Sweden and Swedishness. But then you have some other Swedes, and they are ashamed of being Swedish. They think Swedish history is bad. Or maybe they just think it's boring, it's uninteresting, it's bland, it's not spicy enough. Or they might think that Swedes have no history at all. Consider this advertisement by Scandinavian Airlines.
What is truly Scandinavian?
Grattis!
Absolutely nothing.
Nada.
Niente.
There is no such thing.
Everything is copied.
When they see other people taking pride in their own history and heritage, it upsets them. They don't consider Swedishness something worth taking pride in. No. Pride is for other people with different heritage, not for Swedes. Swedes shouldn't be allowed to feel the same way as someone with a different heritage. But this is happening in England, it's in France, it's in the United States, Australia, Canada, it's in all white countries. And this became very easy to see here in the United States in 2016 during the election. Donald Trump ran on the phrase, "Make America Great Again." Now, immediately, all the people who like America, their mind got filled with images, the Golden Gate Bridge, the Hoover Dam, the space race, the one we won to the moon. They also thought of 1940s and 50s Detroit, one of the most impressive cities in the world. Did you know that people in Europe used to dream about being able to visit Detroit? They said, I want to go to the United States so I can see New York City, Detroit, and Chicago. It was called the Paris of the West. It was a very culturally important place, not just industrially important. Sure, they had all the factories, but they also had a lot of the operas, symphonies, halls, that kind of thing. And when these people heard Make America Great Again, they also thought of things like the Old West, log cabins. They thought of healthier families with a far lower rate of broken homes than the modern day. They also thought of people who were using less drugs. All those people addicted to prescription painkillers, the opioid epidemic, and the other things we're finding to destroy our bodies on. Those didn't used to be a thing. And heck, a lot of them might be thinking of times where real wages were increasing and the standard of living for everyone was improving, not just for some of us. But there's another group of people. When they heard Make America Great Again, they had one response. When was America ever great? Do you remember when they were asking that? Eric Holder goes on MAGA attack. Exactly when did you think America was great? Lots of late-night television shows had man-on-the-street interview segments where they were trying to corner stupid Trump supporters on the street to get them to answer the question, when was America great? So they could laugh at them and say that America was so bad back then because of one reason or another.
What year was America great?
When it was founded.
Except for the slavery stuff.
And they asked this question, when was America great? Because they don't see anything great about our past, and they don't see anything great about us. So to them, it seems like an unanswerable question. They're frustrated with us, they don't like the way we are, and they don't like the way that we were, right? So these people do have a fairly interesting mindset. Let's get a little bit closer to this mindset. This time we'll look from England. In 2013, Peter Hitchens, that's the brother of Christopher Hitchens, wrote, quote, "When I was a revolutionary Marxist, we were all in favor of as much immigration as possible. It wasn't because we liked immigrants, but because we didn't like Britain. We saw immigrants from anywhere as allies against the staid, settled, conservative society that our country still was at the end of the 60s. End quote. So it sounds to me like immigration is a weapon to be used against the prevailing people and to be used against the prevailing culture. After all, if you think that the people in your society are bad and the culture they hold is bad, by bringing in different people with a different culture, inherently you will start to impact or destroy everything that's old, right? It just sort of makes sense. They are, in a sense, your allies in destroying the old. They might not be your allies depending on what new thing you want, but they will oppose everything that's old because it's a different people with a different culture. Now he continues, quote, "Also, we like to feel oh so superior to the bewildered people, usually in the poorest parts of Britain, who found their neighborhoods suddenly transformed into supposedly vibrant communities. If they dared to express the mildest objections, we called them bigots." End quote. Does that sound familiar? Because it should. It sounds like every white country I can think of. I like how he included that bit about vibrant communities. Look at all these diversity pushers. They'll gush over how wonderful a diverse neighborhood is. And then you'll look at that neighborhood and you'll see that there's no white people there. Because diversity doesn't mean diverse. Diversity means getting rid of white people.
That in London, the white British population has decreased by 600,000, while the minority population has increased by 1.2 million. So, yes, lads, we're winning. Yes, lads, we're winning.
Yes, they're winning. Every new non-white immigrant is a win for them, and every white death is a win for them. You someday will die, and they will be happy about that. When other white people in your family die, that'll also be a win for them. If your whole family were to not have any kids and you were all to die out, that would be a big, big win for them. They'd be real excited about that. These people hate our past. They hate the way we are. But do you think they would really stop hating us if we just started believing different things or acting in different ways? That's not the case. They would still hate white people. Now, this is important. These people believe a narrative. The narrative is the white people went and ruined the world, right? They generally have some sort of view that all these wonderful non-whites around the world, possibly a noble savage type myth, were out living, and then the white people came by and screwed it up for everyone, right? This is their religion. The anti-whiteism religion has the original sin of the white people going out and just hurting the world. So when they hate us and when they hurt us through policies like immigration, it's penance. And you got to think about it. If you strike out at evil, then you must be good. That's basic. It's a fairly unnuanced view, but it makes sense. Look at any sort of superhero movie. Even a superhero who's sort of a gray area superhero is still part of the good guys if he's willing to team up with everyone else to fight the biggest of the bad guy. And the biggest of the bad guy in the religion of anti-whiteism is the white people. So anti-whiteism means doing the kind of things that hurt white people. You attack the British in Britain. You attack the Swedes in Sweden. You attack the Germans, the French, the Americans, the Canadians. You attack every white where they live. And that makes you part of the good guys in this narrative. Now, their belief in this narrative, their own self-hate and shame, fuels their desire for anti-white actions, right? Because they believe what they believe, that's why they want to strike out at whites. That's why they want the immigration policies they do. That's why they want whites directly discriminated against in college admissions. Face it, the fact that London is full of people who aren't English, who aren't British, it was done on purpose. It was done out of anti-whiteism. And anti-whiteism is one of the most popular bandwagons of today. But, it is a little bit more complicated than just two sides. It's not just, well, you have people who hate our history and our culture, and then you have the people who like our history and our culture, so they oppose all those policies. Go to a bunch of men who say they like their heritage, they like their history, a bunch of white men. Ask them what they think about the mass replacement of white people in white countries. Many will, frankly, tell you that it's an extreme form of anti-whiteness, and it does need to stop. But some of them might chime in and say, well, as long as they come here legally. Now, this is a real interesting position. They're okay with these policies that are enforced because of anti-white hate, but they don't hold the anti-white hate themselves. So you might ask, why the heck do they support the policies? Is it just that they think anything legal is good and anything illegal is bad? If there was a legal loophole for murder, would they say, well, as long as the murder was legal? No, that's probably not it. I mean, here in the background of this video, I'm playing vintage footage of Southern California. Now, keep in mind, a lot of the people in Southern California today, which is a much different place, are actually legal. They're legal from Ronald Reagan's amnesty. Thanks for that, Reagan. California has been blue ever since. And I'm sure all these legal Americans in Southern California are going to make Southern California as welcoming and wonderful as it used to be. Just look at this video. Would you rather visit the Southern California in this video, or would you rather visit the one that currently exists? Just handing out a few more citizenship papers and making people legal won't drop those rape rates. Or maybe I'm wrong. You better hope I'm wrong, because every Republican governor is asking for more refugees. They're asking for more of every anti-white policy. So now we still have to answer the question, why do these people who don't hate us support these anti-white policies, these policies that you'd expect them to support if they actually did hate us? Well, some of it is they believe a false history. Maybe they believe that the Founding Fathers ultimately did think that diversity was our strength. They think that the Founding Fathers wrote that poem on the Statue of Liberty, when in fact it was a New York Jewish woman, because she was a Zionist. She wrote that poem about her people, not your people, her people. They haven't read our Founding Fathers. They don't know John Jay in the Federalist Papers talking about how our similarities are our strength. Our Founding Fathers didn't believe that diversity is our strength. No country was founded upon that. Not Germany, not Sweden, not France, not Iceland, not Canada. Nowhere was founded on the idea of diversity as a strength. That is a very modern, recent conception. And that has only sprung up in white countries, basically, by anti-whites. All of our leaders from the past, whether the United States or elsewhere, wanted one united people that would all get along and come together when they needed to. They didn't want one people over here and then another people over here and then a bunch of Somalians in Minnesota practicing Islam, and then you would go somewhere and have to ask for an English-speaking bank teller, right? That's not what they wanted. These things make our societies worse. They reduce efficiency and increase social friction. But maybe these people who support these policies have just been called a bigot too many times, and they're just beaten down. Now they just kind of roll over and accept the anti-white policies, even though they don't hold the anti-white hate themselves. Or sometimes they simply just don't take it seriously. I saw a great example of this. Now, Salon, who posts a lot of anti-white propaganda, said that the Hallmark movies are, quote, fascist propaganda. The films are supposedly filled with, quote, shiny-teethed heteronormative whiteness and only a few token movies with characters of color. The Salon article made a particular strong stand against the Hallmark Channel for not showcasing more Jews in a reverent light. Now, the people on Twitter, of course, mocked Salon for this ridiculousness, but people consistently fail to take these sorts of things seriously. A great post I saw on Twitter said, quote, the mistakes that conservatives who reply to this make is the mistakes conservatives always make. They think it's just funny and not serious when they fully intend to destroy you. They aren't joking. And then another reply said, oh, those wacky nuts who ultimately win on every issue. End quote. And if you don't think they're winning, you haven't been paying attention. How are these television channels run? Now, who's controlling the largest websites? YouTube, Facebook, Google, Twitter. Are any of these websites possibly leaning in the direction of anti-whites? Or are they broadcasting a very pro-white message that you've seen? Clearly not. And it's not just a small lean in the direction of anti-whites. Do you think those entities have a large influence on the next generation? I would say so. But how about the actual schools that the kids go to? Elementary school teachers. Imagine your average 5th grade teacher. Do you believe teachers don't generally fall within the anti-white school of thoughts? Come on. Most of those 5th grade teachers are as anti-white as the college campus they studied in. And while it might be nice if you're in your little bubble and you're not taking this seriously, you do need to realize that this is what's happening. Everything your kids see on television, everything your kids see on the internet, and even when the kids go to school to get educated, they're constantly beaten down with this anti-white nonsense. So that's where we are. We have people that like themselves, they like us, they like our history, and they want good things for us. Then you have the second group. They hate us. They hate our history. They view it as bad. They want it changed or destroyed. And in their mind, they're righteous for fighting out against us. And then finally, you have the third group, the duped. They don't hate us. They don't hate themselves. They don't want to see us destroyed, but they consistently advocate for the kind of things you would expect them to advocate for if they did hate us. They say things like, well, as long as it's legal. But whatever you call these people, this third group, this duped people, whether you call them civic nationalists or any other label, reach out to them. Plant the seeds. I talked about that in my video on white flight. Many of us, maybe yourself included, used to be just like them. Maybe you called yourself a civic nationalist, or you said you only wanted legal demographic replacement in white countries, and you only wanted them to win through the death of white people if it was legal. Anti-whiteism does need to stop. And for that, you need to reach out to your brothers and sisters. Just because they don't understand doesn't mean they're bad. Your very first goal whenever sitting down with someone is, do they seem willing to listen? If someone seems willing to listen, you can always talk.